Hello, it's Miss Pensinger, and this is another Scratch tutorial. This one is all about the blocks that make your programs do something. So in this video, we're going to learn how to control our sprite using blocks that make up a script. And it's helpful if you think of these sprites like you would characters in a play. They're on a stage, and you give them a script that they follow to do what you want. So you could think of yourself as the programmer, as the director of a play. And to give instructions to your sprite, there is a collection of blocks in Scratch that you use. The first set here is blue, and they're all motion controls. So you could have your sprite move a little bit using those blocks. You can have them rotate. Then you have the looks section, which includes part of the looks is the talking stuff. So it's important to remember that that's there. You can adjust a lot of things about the way that your sprite looks. And the way that your sprites look often will have something to do with movement. It gives it the sense of movement sometimes, or animation. So that's something to keep in mind. You have sound options. We're going to learn more about that when we talk about sound in Scratch in another video. But know that there are pretty powerful sound controls within Scratch. You have pen controls so that you can draw on the stage, and we're going to learn more about that in another tutorial as well. Data. Scratch can store variables and manipulate them, and you create a variable here in this part of Scratch. The events collection is really important. It has to do with how your sprite knows to begin doing something, whether it's at the start of your program or when a particular key is pressed. It's how your sprite knows, hey, start doing stuff. The control tab is very important, but also somewhat complicated. We'll learn more about that as we go through Scratch, but it allows you to repeat a section of code or get your sprite to make some decisions about whether they should do something or not. You've got several sensing blocks which help your sprite decide if they should do something or not, collect information, that kind of thing. You have several operators. They look like something that might belong in math class, so those are really helpful in integrating some math into your program. And you may think, I don't really like math in my program, but even something like a game keeping score would involve math simply to add up your points. So math actually comes into play kind of a lot. You also have a spot where you can make your own block, which is something we'll learn about a little bit later. So let's go back just to the very simple, to the motion space. And I do want to also point out these white circles here, you can actually edit them. So you can create, you can adjust in the block what it does. So you can be very precise with your movement or whatever else you're doing. These are kind of, if you had different sprites, you could point towards different sprites, but I don't right now. But anytime you've got a drop down like that, you can adjust what's going on. So to play with it a little bit, I want to show you, right now I'm just clicking on it. Woohoo, that's kind of lame because I have to actually find each block and click on it, and that's not really very efficient, and I want a nice, efficient thing. That's what I'm up to. So I'm going to drag things over to this area. All right, great. It still doesn't do anything. What's going on? This is where the control comes into play. The events comes into play. So if I want it to move right away, when the start button is clicked, I'll use that. And that makes it move. I might have it move 10 steps. Wait a second. Turn 15 degrees. And move 10 more steps. Okay. So that's what you're looking at here. You can use other events. Maybe when the space bar is pressed, I'm going to have it go to the middle of the stage, 0, 0. Okay. So he's moving, and now I'm moving back when I hit the space bar. So I can also take these apart if I need to. Typically when I click on something, it moves everything below it, and that can be really annoying if you forget that. It takes a second to get the hang of it. If I want to take that weight block out, I need to drag this down, slide the weight block out, and move that back up. Now by right clicking or control clicking on a Mac or window key clicking on a PC, I can delete that block. So I like to have my scripts area pretty clean so that it's not in the way when I decided to delete that. The nice thing about these blocks are if you try to put something where it doesn't go. For example, you want to say when this clicked, when that pressed, it won't snap together if it doesn't belong. So that's a nice feature that's going to prevent you from making a lot of mistakes. A lot of people, when they learn to program, make a lot of typing mistakes and try to put things together that don't belong, and then they have to go back and do what's called debugging. But Scratch is going to prevent some of those mistakes for you by being smart enough to know to make you follow some of the rules. So that's a really, really important concept. Finding your block in the blocks collection and then dragging it over here into the correct place, choosing the right block, putting it in the right place so that your sprite does what you want it to do. That's a really essential piece of Scratch. So take a look at your project or make a new project and practice that and make sure that you understand how to use these blocks. It's also important to know that the blocks go with the sprite. So if I make a new sprite, this sprite has the blocks. This sprite has no blocks. So when I press start, this sprite, won't do anything. Will do those things, and this sprite will do nothing until I add blocks. So that's an important thing to understand about Scratch as well. So again, you really need to practice these things and try it out for yourself. Make sure you understand how to get these blocks over there, how to edit them before you move on to the next thing, or you're going to be very lost. Happy scratching!